In the last episode, we made the slightly contentious decision to sack Angelo Peruzzi.
Angelo Peruzzi has been sacked as our head coach.
And replace him with Will Still. The idea behind that being move away from the 5-2-2-1 that Peruzzi was playing in favour of a more meta, more effective 4-3-3, which is Will Still's favoured formation or tactic. Today, I've got us all the way up to January in our third season at the club, and we're going to find out, was that the right decision? Should I have got rid of Peruzzi to replace him with Will Still? I guess we'll find out now. Come on. Hello, welcome back to our DOF save, our Spurs DOF save, or should I say, Will Still's Spurs, because last episode, we changed our manager. We made the brave decision to replace Peruzzi with Will Still. Here he is, now into January, the 2nd of January 2025, where we're about halfway through our third season at the club, Will Still's first season at the club, and we set him the pretty tricky challenge of finishing in the top 4 and winning a trophy, because that's where Peruzzi fell down last season, wasn't it? He got us into the Champions League, he managed to get to an FA Cup final, but he was comprehensively beaten by Liverpool in that final, which we watched. Will Still needs to go one better this year. And so far, in January, about halfway through the season, we're 5th, which in itself looks a little bit disappointing because he's not meeting. I mean, we maybe had some ideas to maybe challenge for the title. And we said the very bare minimum was that we need to finish in the Champions League spots, which could well be 5th, by the way, with the new format of the Champions League. On the surface, it looks a bit disappointing, but there's a few things I want to say about it. I'm sort of okay with how we're doing in the league. I want to come back to that in a second, though, because first of all, I want to show you how we're doing in the other competitions generally, to give a full context to how Will Still is doing in his first half of a season in charge. Champions League, let's start with this one. We are in the brand new format, look, with the 36 teams in this massive group stage, the league phase of our Champions League. We're 7th, which I'm pretty happy with. We've played 6 games. He's won 4 of them. We've beaten Rangers, Olympiacos. We beat Juventus 4-1, which in itself is wild, isn't it? And then we lost 2 of those games. They were Real Madrid and Porto. Real Madrid, perhaps you can sort of, expect. And then Porto maybe a little bit more disappointing. But all things considered, 7th out of 36, that is fine. If we can go through automatically, you skip the knockout phase, don't you? If you finish in this top 8 here, that's sort of the bare minimum, I think. That'd be, well, I say bare minimum. That's kind of what I'm hoping for. And we've started well enough to, I think, make that the plan from here. Champions League then, so far so good. Premier League we'll come back to. FA Cup, not entered it yet, but we have drawn Newcastle, who are a decent team. They're actually 11th this year. They were right up there last season, down to 11th this year, so maybe we'll be favourites going into that. I think we play them. Let me have a look actually on here. We play them at home as well, so I think we'd still be favourites to go through there. I'll have a look at these results again in a little while. But finally, this is why I wanted to talk about the competitions first. Carabao Cup, that chance for a trophy. We've made a semi-final. We've got Brighton in a 2-legged semi-final. I think it is 2-legged. And if we win, we will play Liverpool or West Ham in a final. Liverpool to get a bit of revenge for last season, the FA Cup final. It puts us in a good position to try and get this trophy, which is the minimum that we were expecting from Will Still, which I wanted to show you first because I think it kind of sums up that he's doing okay. He's not doing amazingly, but he's doing okay. Let's have a look then in more detail how we're doing in that league campaign, and then I'll show you how the players are doing, and we'll get into maybe how we're going to do some transfers in today's episode, because it is January. The problem is that we don't have any money, so I want to do some transfers, but to do so we might need to sell somebody, which is a potential problem, isn't it? Highland is actually attracting a little bit of interest. We could sell him. We'll talk about those things in a little while though. Let me show you first of all then the league table, some of the results as we sit 5th after 22 games, so over the halfway mark. We've won 13, we've drawn 3, we've lost 6. I seem to remember last season Peruzzi had lost 8 by about January, which isn't too different to how Will Still's done. I'm sort of okay with it though, mainly because if you have a look at the teams that we've lost to here, we've lost 6 matches away to City, which I can't show you on here, but I'll just hover over. Away to City, away to Chelsea, away to Liverpool, away to Brighton. Maybe that's a bit disappointing. At home to City, a home game, but it is Manchester City. And then away to Fulham, which is the first game of the season, which we played or watched as that live com last time out. Do you see what I mean? That the results are against teams that they're really tricky games. We played City, Chelsea, Liverpool away there. I think that means that in those home games, if we can make up for 1 or 2 of them, it's not the worst thing in the world. And the other thing to think of is that he does have a game in hand here. 22 games played for us, 23 for the other teams. If he wins that game in hand, we'd be on 45, easily fourth, 2 points off second. And I mean, not completely out the title race, but probably. We'd be 10 points off the top, so probably out of the title race. But that means we're in that top 4. So I think if you really think of the entire context, 6 losses seems bad, but not the worst thing in the world, is it? It really isn't the worst thing in the world. Arsenal, by the way, down in 13th. They have sacked Mikel Arteta and replaced him with Luis Enrique this season. Just thought that as this is a Spurs save, we should keep an eye on what Arsenal are doing as well, shouldn't we? Let me show you the results then as we go through this season. A load of games played, and I've been paying a really close attention to what he's doing to see how he's using some of those players that we brought in, players like Benjamin Sesko and Marcus Edwards on that right-hand side. We'll get into all of that afterwards as I look at how many games people have been playing. But from that first game where we lost to Fulham, this was the live con, wasn't it? Where we were not very good, to be honest. I mean, maybe we just weren't very good, were we? Where it was Kane up front. From then, we had a really good run. Look, I think I can highlight them from here. Following that Fulham game, we beat Palace. We drew to Newcastle. We beat Arsenal. First North London derby of the season. Camavinga and Romero with the goals. Beat Bournemouth. Drew with Manchester United. Winning against Club Brugge in the Champions League. Beat Everton. Beat Chelsea away from home in the Carabao Cup. One of the games we lost in the league was to them away from home. Lost to City. We saw that one. Bit unlucky. Not great. There's that 4-1 win against Juventus. Let me show you this one because, again, I like to pick out 1 or 2 results that I think show how good we've become now and maybe give us a proper measure of, are we a good team? We were dominant playing away at Juventus. Yes, it's group stage, but look, Kane scored twice, Son played, Camavinga, Bellingham, Ward-Prowse. There's a lot of players here not playing as well, like Leao, who did play a load more games more recently, wasn't starting at the start of the season, has now played 20 times, look, 21 starts and has been pretty good. 3 goals, 4 assists. All competitions, he's got 7. 3 goals in Europe in 4 starts, so really good in the Champions League. So he's coming into his own, hopefully settling in a little bit. It was a pretty big transfer fee we spent on him, wasn't it? But yeah, 4-1 against Juventus, I think kind of shows that we're really good. Beat West Brom 4-1. That was a friendly. We beat Leicester. Here's that 4-2 loss to Porto. Bit weird, but I think it's 36 teams in that Champions League. I think you're going to lose 1 or 2 games, aren't you? Beat Middlesbrough, beat Leeds, lost to Brighton. That was a bit of a tough one to take. In November, we were playing a lot of games. Look, 30th, 2nd, 6th, 9th. The fixture schedule has been congested, to say the least. We played a lot of games in short amounts of time. Lost to Liverpool 4-0 here. Again, if I point out games like the Juventus one, I should probably point out games like this one here. Leao got sent off second half, but we were dominated by Liverpool. We've done this a few times in this save. Peruzzi had it happen to him a few times. Will Still is seeing it happen to him as well, which is a worry. We are playing this 4-3-3 system, and I still don't really know the roles, by the way. I've been checking, he's changing them loads, so I can't really nail down exactly what roles are being played either. But yeah, 4-0 there, but then bouncing back with a 6-0 win against Rangers. 2-0, lost to Chelsea, lost to Real Madrid there, look, after beating Villa. Villa really good, weirdly, in this save. Beat Fulham in the Carabao Cup quarterfinals, beat Leeds, lost to City, beat Everton, and then beat, most recently, Leicester City away from home. 2-0, Camavinga and Harry Kane. Overall, I think that's not too bad. There was a pretty rough patch here, look, at the start of November where we lost 3 of all, or we won 1 in 4, which that's probably not good enough. But I think we've recovered quite nicely since then. The only games we really are losing are those games away at really good teams, which it'd be nice to pick up 1 or 2 results, obviously, but losing to City away from home, it's not unexpected, is it? I don't think. City are really good. They've got Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland is still a joke. I think we can all agree. How many goals has he got? He's got 21 in 23 games. Salah's actually got 23 in 23, which is pretty outrageous, really. Our top goal scorer, if we go to the Premier League stats here, is... we don't have one in the top 18. I mean, I'll show you the player stats now because we've been sharing the goals around, I suppose. Let me go through the tactic then, this 4-3-3. These are the roles that I've picked out that are being used most frequently, by the way, but they are changing. It's a bit weird with like a fullback at the left-hand side and things, but I looked at all the form to pick out the roles that are being most frequently picked, and it seems to be these, but they do change quite often. Goalkeeper has been Diogo Costa very regularly. At right back, Pedro Porro's played loads. Centre backs, Romero has played the most, alongside... It's been Bastoni playing left-hand side. Guardiola has played a load of games at left-back, but Destiny Udogie is still first choice there. If I just put them up here, look, you can see the games they've played on this side here. Midfield, it has been mainly Ward-Prowse. He's played 29 times. Lots of games, by the way, for Bissouma, who, not as a starter, but 13 games look for him. You can see that he is being picked to come in and play quite a lot. Jude Bellingham on the right and then Camavinga on the left. A lot of times as a Metzala, which I find kind of strange for how he is as a footballer. I'm not sure I would use him as a Metzala, but that seems to be what Will Still's doing. Look, you can see Metzala has been his role quite often when he's been not an unused substitute, that is. Right-hand side, inverted winger Kulusevski most often. Leao has played a load, but has been rotating with Son. Son has played 20. Leao has played 21, so pretty much sharing that role on this left-hand side. And then up front, Harry Kane has been first choice. 18 starts for him. However, to show you, Benjamin Sesko's started 9. Son as well has been playing a few up front as well. Highland, who we brought in to be a young pretender to that role, no games. Hasn't played a single game this season, which makes me wonder, do I loan him out or do I just sell him? There's been some interest from a few teams on loan. Dortmund were interested in buying him and it rumoured 60 million. If we get a bid of a decent amount for him, I kind of think we should maybe sell him now. Now that we've got like Sesko as well to come and play that role. I'm not sure. Let me know what you think with Rasmus Highland, but he hasn't been playing that often. And this is pretty much the way it's been. You can see some of the substitute appearances here. Loads of games from Bissouma. 5 goals from him as well. Guardiola only playing 12. McAllister only playing 4. He did have interest earlier as well. No interest in him right now, but another one that we could sell. Finally, I've just offered a new contract to Heung-min Son. He's got some interest too at 32. Should I sell him in this January window? I am debating it. Inter are linked to offering him a contract as well to sign him on a free because his contract's up in the summer. He is the only one of our players who is going out of contract, but there is a decision to be made there, isn't there? Oh, another thing I wanted to show you too. Evans Musa, our young player that came through our youth intake, 17 years old now, has actually played some games. Look, a start in the Premier League and a game played in Europe as well, where he played pretty well. Quite cool that Will Still is deciding to use some of our youth players he's got good potential. So hopefully he plays a few more games at right back too. That is the team. Those are our results. This is how we've been doing. We don't really have any transfer money to go and do much in the window. That's kind of where we are in today's episode. What I'm going to go and do though is play all of January in this episode so that you can see how we get on in some of these big games. Can we reach the Carabao Cup final? Maybe we'll play one of these games as a live con. We'll see how the rest of this window goes. And I'll let you know if I do any transfer business as well, because being a director of football, that's obviously a massive part of our role here, isn't it? We need to go and do those transfer deals. And with no money, I'm kind of hamstrung by the fact that I can't really do anything. That's because our financial situation is not amazing. £91 million in the negative. It looks like it is going to improve. We've got a load of money coming in actually for players that are like we just got another 10 million for Dele Alli coming in, I think, after one more game. So I am actually not too worried about this, but I mean, it is a little bit worrying. I'm just spending the money they're giving me though. They gave me the money. I'm spending it. I think it's going to be fine. I do this in most saves, but something to look out for. £91 million in debt. Doesn't look amazing, does it? But anyway, there we go. Right, I'm going to go and play the rest of January now. I will see you on deadline day just to let you know what I've done in terms of business. And I'll also let you know how we've done in these games here. Big ones, Brighton home and away. Can we reach a Carabao Cup final? I will see you at the end of Jan. Okay, so I've only gone a couple of days, but there's some big news that I need to come back and share with you. I've sold Heung-min Son. That feels like massive news. I wonder if you're going to agree with me on this one and whether this was a good idea or not. I've sold Heung-min Son to PSG for just about £15 million. His contract was going to expire in the summer. I could have given him a new one on about 170 odd £1,000 per week. He's 32 years old and we've brought in Leao. We've got Kulusevski. I feel like we've got good players there. And the other part of this is that our money, our financial situation isn't amazing, isn't it? I've decided to let him go. I've had a bit of a turnaround. I did offer him that contract. I decided to withdraw it and offer him out to see if anybody would pay any money for him. PSG came in with that £14.75 million bid, and I've decided to let him go. He's on £115,000 per week there. I'm still paying him 96k a week, which I know seems like a lot, right? But this will only be until the summer, so it's 6 months worth of this, and then he will be off our wage budget. He was on about £200,000 per week before he left us. So I know that it is a lot to still be paying him for him not to be playing for us, but long term, I think it still makes a bit of sense. And they've kind of paid for that with the £14 million and then some, in terms of we get to just get that money right now. And if we want to, we could go and buy somebody if we felt like somebody good was available. The other thing that has happened since you were last here is that we've got a bid for Rasmus Højlund. It's £29 million from Monaco. £29 million up front. Feels like an okay bid. I've decided to list him to see if there was any other interest in him. We've got that loan interest. I don't know if there's any teams now. Okay, Dortmund are now interested in him in a transfer as well. I want to kind of get a bit of an auction going with him. I really like him. I think he's fantastic. He scored goals for us last year as well. 6 goals in the league, which is not to be sniffed at in 9 starts. This year, he's just not had a look in. Will Still has played him 0 times in any competition. So we signed him for £21 million. Do we let him go for 29 and take a little bit of a profit on him? Gives us that little bit of money. I'm debating it. I'm not going to confirm it until I kind of make up my mind. But that is something that's happening right now. Since that last section as well, we've played 1 game. We beat West Brom 3-1. Do you know what? Let's go and indulge ourselves by watching the goals in this one. So dominant. West Brom were the bottom team. They were 20th in the league. They are not very good. It looks like they're going to go back down this season. But they actually took the lead. It was Daryl DK who scored first, and then we charged back with 3 goals in the second half. Let's have a watch of those. Here is that DK goal. It was Basuma that gave it away. He gives it to Diang, gets himself back in the box, and then it's a tap in. I mean, it's not great defending. Is that Silva? Romero? Guardiola. Not great from him. Second half, though, it was all about us. 3 goals in this second half period. Here's Leao, one of our big money signing in the summer, driving into the box and getting his cross over to Kulusevski, who taps in. That was the first goal. 2 more after that one followed then. The first of which was from a set piece. Corner from Ward-Prowse. Headed in or headed away by Mepa, but back in by Udogie. In off Guardiola with the little header there. Like that one. A weird goal. Checked for offside but given. And then Udogie, good tackle he was involved in. Both goals then, but the last 2 goals. Leao driving in and smashing it into the keeper's hands, who fumbles it into the back of the net. Leao gets himself another goal for the season. How many is that now? I feel like we're paying quite close attention to him, but he did cost a lot of money. 4 league goals, 8 goals all competitions. I mean, it's not sensational, but it's decent. He doesn't score that many, he does play wide, so I suppose it's not the end of the world. If he gets more than 6, he's done better than he did for Milan last year. So 7.07 average rating is not the worst thing, is it? I'm going to go and continue now. I'll make a decision about Højlund. I'll maybe have a look at who's available. Where do we need players in this squad? Where are we lacking slightly? Is it a midfielder? Not sure. Is McAllister the guy now? If there was a bit of interest in him, would I sell him? I'm going to go and have a look at what's available and maybe come back if we do any business. I will continue to do our January window, and I'll see you whenever something happens. Okay, so it is the end of the January window, and I've been tempted in to make one last signing. And actually, it's a signing that doesn't even come in now. I'm signing Steven Escobar. There was so much of me. The majority of my thoughts were thinking the financial situation at the club is just really not very good. So just take the money in and then just be sensible. And then I started looking at young players, and now we've agreed a deal to sign Steven Escobar, who's a 17-year-old striker who plays for Porto, can even play on the wing as well. I think he looks like he's going to be quite good. Our scouts seem to think he's going to be quite good in the future. He's labelled as the next Radamel Falcao, which hopefully he does better in England than Falcao did. But I think that's quite exciting. And he's called Escobar. So I felt like we're going to do it. We've agreed a deal with Porto to bring him in. He joins in January of next year. So that's why it didn't go through during the window, which is now closed. But I wanted to get it done to show you. He joins next January. He joins for about £10 million up front, rising to £22 million. I think in terms of future-proofing, we're signing really good young talent, which I think is always a smart thing to be doing in these saves. He's also 17. I don't think that means he's going to become homegrown because he'll be 18 by the time he gets here. Either way, though, you want to sign these young players, don't you? And actually, just going back to the homegrown things, I know a lot of you are commenting that in the comments. We're not too bad, really, on it. We've got loads that are homegrown at club now. 4 of them in the first team squad, if you include Musa and this young backup goalkeeper called Brandon Austin, who's not very good. So I do probably need to sign a good backup goalkeeper in case Costa gets injured. Then Marcus Edwards and Harry Kane, though. I'm not too worried about it, especially with Silva becoming homegrown at club next summer as well. I think we'll be okay. Actually, it is until 21, isn't it? It's 3 years. So if they join when he's 18, he actually still can become homegrown, I think, right? Anyway, it's always a little bit confusing, but I think he can actually if we sign them young enough. So there's even that as well potentially in the future. He joins a couple of outgoings in the January window. One of them, or in fact, I'll just go to them here. One of them being Luca Gunter, who is just a young goalkeeper who wasn't very good. He went for about 100k or so. Highland has gone on loan to Valencia, who are going to pay all of his wages. I was very close to selling him to Monaco. I accepted their bid. He actually rejected the contract, but I kind of was hoping that he was going to do that, and I was going to cancel it anyway because I decided I think he's a bit too good to just let go for 29 million. I think if he gets a decent spell now at Valencia and plays some games, he's played one game so far, I reckon he can develop and become a better striker. Maybe we sell him for more in the future. So we've loaned him out. I'm going to see how he develops and see what happens with him. Maybe he leaves in the summer. We will see. There is no future clause in this loan deal. It is a straight up. He's been said, they've told me that he's going to be a regular starter and they're paying his wages, £115,000 per week, and actually and 50k per month as well. So a little bit extra on top to have the privilege of having him. I think it kind of makes sense. He is out alongside Heung-min Son, who we talked about earlier. No incomings except for, well, no incomings in the January window except for the future transfer then of Steven Escobar. We've had a good month though. We talked about, is he doing okay, Will, still? Have a look at the January window now, or the January period, I should say. I think he is doing okay. We have beaten West Brom 3-1. Here's the good bit though. We have beaten Brighton home and away. We have made a Carabao Cup final. We are going to go and play another final at Wembley this season. It's against Liverpool again. There's a chance for some redemption after last season's FA Cup final. I'm worried because we seem to lose to Liverpool every single time, but we are going to be playing a Carabao Cup final. That final isn't that far away, actually, on the 2nd of March. I think we'll have to play that one before next episode. I'll show you how it goes in our next episode. The rest of the results in January, though, were also pretty good. We beat Leeds. We beat Salzburg. We drew to Palace away from home. Not too upset with it. Probably should have won it when I looked at the stats as well. And then we drew to Borussia Mönchengladbach. That's not the end of the world as well. We still find ourselves in the top 6. We've qualified through to the next round as well as the 6th seed in the Champions League. So we've done our job in that. In all competitions, Will's doing his job. Will's still doing an okay job. We're in the top 4, 2 games in hand. If we win those games in hand, we go to 55 points. We'd be 2nd in the league. So he's doing okay. I think I'm quite happy with the job that he's doing. We definitely don't need to think about sacking him right now. He could go and get that trophy. He should go and get that top 4 position. All things are pretty rosy, wouldn't you say? If you enjoy this series and you've enjoyed today's episode, please do leave a like on today's episode. Leave me those comments down below. I love to hit so many comments on this, by the way. Thank you so much for getting so involved in things. I do genuinely love reading all of your comments, especially the positive ones, especially those. But if you are enjoying it, please do subscribe to the channel. As I record this, we are on about 38,500 subscribers. If we can hit 40k because of this series, I'll be over the moon. So please do subscribe if you haven't done so already, especially if you watched the whole video and you've enjoyed this. I'm going to continue making them, continue with this save because it is so much fun. I'm putting all of my YouTube time into this save because I love it. And it seems like you guys are loving it too. So thank you very much for watching. The most important thing though to say at the end of today's video is have a lovely rest of your day. Thank you very much for watching. Bye-bye.